Today's the 24th of July, 2020. It's 15:30. Had a lot of things on my mind today. It's best to get things off your chest instead of festering with anger. And I have had to learn to limit my news cycle because at this point I get so damn angry. It drives me crazy. So last night at about maybe this morning really, but 1 a.m., middle of the night, Mayor of Chicago Lori Lightfoot removes a statue of Columbus. There's two of them. There's one in Little Italy. I think there's two of them. I'm not sure. But there's one in Grant Park. And there's maybe another one in Little Italy. I don't know. It's a neighborhood in Chicago. It might be the same place for all I know. But where all the nonsense happened about a week ago, where they attacked police officers and such there. The mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, went in there and removed it in the middle of the night. Now, Chicago has got a habit of doing this stuff. Richard Daley Jr. did this right after 9/11. He went in. There used to be a small airport on the lakefront called Meigs Field. And it wasn't a public airport. It was more of a private airport for small planes. A lot of small planes would land there, like the governor's plane, and I don't know who else. Well, Daley used 9/11 as his excuse for the safety of the city to went in there at the middle of the night, about the same time. And what they did is they went in there with backhoes and they made big X's on the runway, so no planes could use it. They've since turned it into a park. But truth be told, a lot of emergency personnel use that. A lot of emergency vehicles use that. Helicopters, planes, they use that place. So Lori Lightfoot just did the same damn thing. But this is what angers me about this. I don't know how long that statue of Columbus has been there, but I'm going to tell you, it's probably been there a lot longer than I've been on this planet. And it was never an issue. It was never an issue when Obama was president for 8 years. But all of a sudden now, it's a focal point of rage. And the protesters said, Black Lives Matters and indigenous people of Chicago. I've lived here my whole life. There are no indigenous people here. All the Native Americans got pushed out well over 100 years ago. You want indigenous people? Go to northern Wisconsin. Go to parts of northern Michigan. Go to Oklahoma. But Chicago? What a joke, indigenous people. What a joke. There's no indigenous. Chicago is filled with, more so than any other place that I've ever been to in my life, with the descendants of immigrants. Basically from Northern Europe. Northern and Eastern Europe. Lots of Irish, German, Polish, Italian. And everybody I knew growing up was probably second or third generation Americans from immigrants. I am third generation German, Austrian. Chicago was a hotbed in the early turn of the century, back in early 1900s. Late 1800s was a hotbed for immigrants seeking work, because it was a growing industrial base started here. So there's no indigenous. What a joke. So they go out there, and this is what it really comes down to. This mayor has capitulated to an angry mob. And the angry mob got what they wanted. So now the angry mobs, who are organized, regardless of what anybody isn't telling you, these are organized people that are communicating and working behind the scenes. I promise you they have some other things on the list that they are going to target And this mayor, and I'm so glad I don't live there, you know, it is infuriating to see this kind of stuff. Once you give an inch to people who demand things by force, once you give an inch, they take a yard. And now this is going to be their MO all over the damn country. They're going to do this, and in these liberal cities run by liberal mayors and liberal governors, they're going to capitulate to these people. They're going to go out in the middle of the night, and they're going to remove these things. And the reason they do it in the middle of the night is they don't want the other side of, they don't want the far righters, the far right-wing extremists to go out there and do something about it. Look, Columbus was Columbus. Was he a perfect man? Oh, hell no. But he deserves the credit for what he did do. It's not a question that he discovered America. The question is that in the time that he lived, he discovered the other half of the world. He discovered the landmass. There is a huge landmass running north and south between the Far East and Europe that people in the 1400s really weren't aware of. And it opened up look, human beings are human beings. We exploit the environment, we exploit the resources. So all right, so there were people here. I'm sorry. I am sorry that the Europeans overran, and don't call them indigenous because they're not indigenous. They didn't evolve here. They weren't originally here. They were what you might call original immigrants, First Nations people. They were the first colonizers. The first people that came over here colonized. So-called Native Americans were colonizers too, because that's what people do. And they overrun the Clovis people. There were other people here in smaller groups when the First Nations people arrived here. And do you think they were peaceful about it? They were warring for resources. At the time, this was the last place on the planet where the megafauna stood. The last stand of the mammoths and the woolly rhinos and the giant ground sloths and the saber-toothed cats. And coincidentally, they just disappear when the First Nations people arrive. So don't give me that nonsense. There's, the noble savage. Oh, please. So Columbus was a brute in some ways, and in some ways he wasn't. He was a person of his time. I'm not going to fault him for it. And Italian Americans took a lot of pride, particularly when the time they put these statues up. There's a lot of pride about that man. So what? So what are you going to do now? What's the next step? You move the statues? Where are you going to put them? Because no one's going to put them on display. They don't even want to put them in displays in museums because they don't want people protesting in museums. So what are you going to do? You're going to erase the guy's name out of history? You're going to go to the art museums now, and if there's any paintings on the wall in the art museums, you're going to bitch and moan and demand that it's removed? See, this is what people who are totalitarian. These are totalitarian people who demand their way, and if you don't think their way, you don't agree with them, they demand your silence. And when it happens, if you don't get silenced, they're going to demand your life. Look, this is a dangerous precedent that a stupid mayor in a stupid city has set. The nonsense that's going on in Portland, how you like to live there? For 54 days, they riot every night. They barricaded a federal building with employees in it and tried to burn it down. And the police are hamstrung. Start arresting them. Start arresting these people. When they start paying a huge fine, and they get charged with felonies, and they got to pay for lawyers, oh, trust me, this shit will end in a heartbeat. But when you're allowed to act like an asshole and get away with being an asshole like this, they're going to just keep on going and keep on going. So what's going to happen? Look, I'm an average person. I work every day. I got to pay a mortgage. I got to take care of myself. I got to take care of stuff. I don't have time to go and pretend to be an asshole around a statue of a man that's been dead for centuries. I don't have time to go down there and mess around. But all these people, they got time because their lives aren't worth shit. They rabbled around a cause that they think that they can, well, that they do now know that they're going to get action on. Look, I wish I knew how to fight battles like this, because the reality is that there's a spiritual dimension to this, and I don't know how to fight that kind of a battle. The way I look at it, it's a flesh and blood battle, and it should be met on a battlefield. And you know what? It's coming to this. I keep saying it's coming to it, because it's only a matter of time before they come for you. It's only a matter of time. They come for you. They come for your children. The minute they find out what you believe in, what you stand in, if you go public with it, they're coming for you. And they're gonna try to scare you into silence. If they don't, they're gonna make accusations against you. And then the next thing you know, they're firebombing your home. They're gonna dox your children. They're gonna it's coming. It's gonna get worse. So, what are you gonna do? You're just going to let them roll over you? You're going to turn the other cheek? You're going to let them run over? Are you going to play like this Lori Lightfoot? Just capitulate? I'm so sorry. We're going to do whatever you say because we want to make you happy. Every day when I see this stuff and I realize there's no turning back from these monsters, because that's exactly what they are. They're freaking savage monsters. You don't support any organization that decides that they want to protest something, that they're going to get violent about it, and they start attacking police officers. And the police officers aren't even allowed to defend themselves. They can't even defend themselves. So somewhere along the line, you better make a stand and decide what side you're going to be on, because you're going to have to pick a side. Choose today which side you're going to stand on. You're going to stand with the crazy people that want to see you die because you don't think like they do. They want to see you dead. They wouldn't lift a finger to help you. These are the people that are going to kick you in the face and stomp on your head in the street and not give a shit about you. So what are you going to do about it? Don't you dare vote for these fuckers. Don't you dare vote for them. Do not reward their behavior. I'm sorry to use that language, but there's no other way to put it. Don't you dare vote for them. And Trump's the bad guy. It's always Trump is the bad guy. From now on, you're going to see this nonsense. Every time an election doesn't go the way they want it, anytime something goes the way they don't want it, they're going to riot in the streets, they're going to burn, and they're going to loot. And half the people are going to sit around and do nothing about it. When they start marching down your street, you're at a point where they don't even want you to defend yourself. It's shameful. On that note, I hope you have a lovely day. But don't feed into the nonsense that these fuckers are doing. And don't put up with it. Don't capitulate to liberals.